Welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about what's known as environmental emergencies. This is everything from heat stroke on the top all the way down to hypothermia and frostbite on the bottom. We're going to be talking about everything in between and exactly what you should do if you find yourself in one of these life or death situations while out on the trail. We've all heard somebody say it. If it's cold out, you got to have something like this on your head or you're going to lose all your body heat that way. Not 100% correct. Stay tuned to the end and I'll set the record straight once and for all on that. So let's start off talking about heat emergencies. This is things like heat exhaustion all the way up to heat stroke. So heat exhaustion is just when you have been out in the sun working hard and you start getting dehydrated and you start getting basically exhausted from the heat. Pretty simple name, right? We keep it simple in medicine sometimes. So what you want to do here is get them out of the heat. If you can get them into shade, what I would do is put them inside my ambulance here with the air conditioner cranked up and we give them some fluid, whether we start an IV on them or just give them something to drink by mouth. We want to replenish the fluid, but also the electrolytes. Salt and other electrolytes are super important for everything from muscle contractions to heartbeats to mental function and everything else in your body. And if you have an electrolyte imbalance, it causes issues. When you're sweating, we all know we sweat out salt. So a big thing we want to do is replenish that salt. So if you're working outside, you're doing a recovery in the middle of the desert, something like that, you don't want just plain water. You want to be including some sort of electrolytes, whether that's Gatorade or an electrolyte powder, or even just putting some salt on your food when you're eating it. That'll be really good for helping to minimize those electrolyte imbalances. So the first step with all this, get them out of the heat, whether it's into an ambulance like this, into your rig, even if you can just get them into the shade and get a fan or something going on them, that'll help just naturally cool them down. Other things we can do, if they've got something like this on, get their shirt off, they'll lose a lot more heat that way. And then there's heat stroke on the top. Some things we are going to do for heat stroke, obviously we're going to get them out of the heat. Same stuff, we're going to strip them down, get them out of the heat, start cooling them down. That is a medical emergency. They can, and lots of people have died from heat strokes. That's when they start going unresponsive, not acting right. They can die from that. Their body temperature is getting way too high, and we need to take aggressive steps to cool them down. So we're certainly going to be spraying them with water, try to get them cooled down. If you've got ice packs, you can put them into like the armpits and the groin. Your big blood vessels are close to the surface there, so you can cool them down. You want to get them to a hospital or an ambulance as quickly as possible. This is the time to be hitting that SOS button on your Zoleo and getting help there as quickly as possible. When someone has gotten to that point of heat stroke, or when they've had that mental status change, they're not able to talk, they're not able to follow directions, or they're totally unresponsive, nothing goes in their mouth. Don't be dumping salt packets in their mouth and trying to force water down. We're far past that point there. We want to be careful that we don't cool them so much that they start shivering. The brain is what controls thermostat for the body. So if we start cooling the skin down so much that the person starts shivering, well, that's going to raise the core temperature and make things that much worse. So cool them down, but not so much that they start shivering. Make sure that you don't cause other problems such as frostbite, and make sure you're getting them off the trail, out of the woods, whatever it is, as quickly as possible, especially when we're in that heat stroke issues. Now let's move on and talk about what happens the other 6 months of the year. The main thing we want to do is get someone out of their wet clothes. You're doing a water crossing, doing a recovery, you're drenched head to toe. You need to get into dry clothes as quickly as possible. We've got this person here, we've got them stripped down, out of their wet clothes. What are we going to do? Well, sometimes the easiest thing to do is just wrap them in a blanket. If you've got a blanket, we're overlanding, we've got stuff. Get them in a sleeping bag. The diesel heaters are a huge thing. So we've got heat, we've got rigs, hopefully you've got fuel, get the heat going in there. We'll back up a little bit. What's actually happening with hypothermia and frostbite is the cells and the water inside your body has gotten so cold that it's freezing. If we have gotten to that point where they're frozen, and then we warm them up, and then they freeze again, that causes way more damage than if we just left them frozen to begin with. It's kind of weird talking about frozen humans. Warm them up and keep them warm, get their cold clothes off of them, and then we can start wrapping them up. Blankets are great. Another thing are these instant heat packs or instant hot packs. These can go in the same spot, right up in the armpits or in the groin. Same thing, those blood vessels are there. If they have frostbite, that's that where your fingertips and everything turn black, look real nasty. Make sure that we are just passively warming that. We don't want to be rubbing it because that, again, those cells are frozen. That can cause a lot of issues with breaking them and actually cause more damage than just letting it slowly come up. Another thing that's super easy to do are these Mylar foil thermal, emergency, whatever you call them, blankets. There's a lot of different terms for it. Basically, it's just tinfoil for people. Frozen people in tinfoil. This isn't a cooking channel, I promise. Same thing as the blanket. This goes close to the skin, and this actually reflects the body heat back to you. Luckily though, overlanding, like I said, we've got the rigs. We're not carrying all our stuff in a backpack and that's it. So you can get somebody into a rig and get the heat going, get them warmed up that way. But the big thing on all of this is make sure that we don't make it worse. We don't want to cool them down too much. We don't want to heat them up too much. We don't want to cause burns. We don't want to cause hypothermia. Make sure that we're just constantly checking to see where this person is. Other things is nutrition. Sounds kind of weird, but when you're out in the cold, your body's burning a lot more calories to keep you warm. So maybe your rig is stuck, you know you won't be able to get out until tomorrow or the day after. You want to make sure that you're eating plenty of food so your body has all of those calories to burn to keep you warm. Other thing is fluids. If you can drink warm fluids or even warm food, think about heating yourself from the inside out. Now, it is true. Just a bare head, especially without any hair up there, you will lose body heat out through your head, just naturally radiating off out into the environment. If you throw one of these on your head, yes, you are helping to keep some of that body heat in. But your head is roughly 10% of your total body surface area. So any other 10% that's not covered will lose the exact same amount of body heat. You don't lose any more body heat through your head than any other 10% of your body